After the officer hands back over your driver's license and registration, the officer says, "Have a good night."
Where are you coming from?
You think it's
Just
over.
work.
And where are you headed?
Actually,
I don't really
mind
have
if I
that
ask you a
much
few more questions? Or worse, step out of the
Step
car.
out of the car.
Do you know what you're legally required to do right now? And more importantly, do you know what he's no longer authorized to do? That moment,
What happened here?
right there, is where most people hand over everything. Welcome back to Survive the Encounter. I'm a retired law enforcement officer, 43 years on the job, and a criminal law instructor. And today I'm giving you 4 answers you need locked in before you're ever in that seat. Can they order you out of the car? Can they detain you after handing back your license? Can they search without your consent? And what does your consent actually cost you? 4 questions. Straight answers. Case law to back every word. Segment 1. Can an officer order you out of the car? Yes. Pennsylvania versus
Step out of the car.
Mills, 1977. The Supreme Court ruled an officer can order the driver out during any lawful traffic stop. No additional suspicion required. The court called it a minimal intrusion justified by officer safety. And 20 years later, Maryland versus Wilson, 1997, that same authority extended to every passenger in the vehicle. Broken tail light, expired registration, every single person in that car can be told to step out, legally. That's not negotiable. But here's the line that changes everything. That authority exists during a lawful stop. Once the stop is over, once the mission is complete, the legal ground shifts under their feet. Segment 2. Can they detain you after handing back your license? This is the one that traps people. The officer has handed back your documents, license, registration, ticket, or warning. In your mind, it's over. Legally, it is. Rodriguez versus United States, 2015. The Supreme Court was crystal clear. The moment the stop's mission is complete, their authority to hold you ends with it. They cannot extend that detention. Not for unrelated questions, not to wait for backup, not to run a drug dog around the car without new, independent, reasonable suspicion of a crime. Not a hunch. Specific, articulable facts. I've seen officers work this. They hand the license back with one hand and start a new conversation with the other. You don't have any weapons in the vehicle, do you? Where are you coming from tonight? They're fishing. You know what you say? Am I free to go? If the answer is yes, go. Calmly. Immediately. If the answer is no, you've just transitioned into a new detention, and now the burden is on them to justify it. You fight that in court, not on the roadside. Segment 3. Can they search without your consent? 3 words. No. They cannot. Not without a warrant, not without probable cause, and not without your consent. The Fourth Amendment is not a suggestion. It protects you from unreasonable searches, and searching your vehicle without legal justification is exactly that. Now here's where it gets real. The automobile exception exists. If an officer has probable cause, real, articulable facts, that evidence of a crime is in that vehicle, they don't need your permission. The smell of marijuana, contraband in plain view, that changes the equation. But absent that, they need your yes. And most of the time when an officer asks to search your vehicle, he doesn't have the probable cause he needs. That's why he's asking. Mind if I take a look? Just want to make sure everything's good. That is not a courtesy. That is a fishing expedition. Your response? I don't consent to any searches. That is not resisting. That is not obstruction. That is your Fourth Amendment right. Exercised. Segment 4. What does your consent actually cost you? This is the question most people don't think about until it's too late. The moment you say yes, even casually, even politely, you've waived your Fourth Amendment protection for that search. If they find something, that evidence is almost certainly coming in. Consent searches are one of the most common ways law enforcement gains access to a vehicle. No warrant needed, no probable cause needed, just your word. Now, you do have the right to revoke
The automobile
consent.
exception exists.
If a search has started and you change your mind, you say, clearly, I am revoking my consent. Please stop the search. They are legally required to stop. But here's the catch. Anything found before that revocation, fair game, admissible, in evidence. So the smartest move is never getting there in the first place. Don't consent. You're not required to. And a good officer, I spent 43 years working alongside good officers. A good officer working a legitimate stop doesn't need your permission. He either has probable cause or he doesn't. The one asking for consent is the one who knows he doesn't have what he needs. Let's lock this in. 1. Officers can order you out of the car during a lawful stop. Every person in the vehicle. That's settled law. 2. Once your documents are returned and the mission is complete, their authority to hold you ends. If they keep you, ask, "Am I free to go?" 3. They cannot search without a warrant, probable cause, or your consent. If they're asking, they don't have what they need. 4. Consent is not a handshake. It's a legal waiver of your Fourth Amendment rights. Don't give it. And if you've already given it, revoke it.
Officer,
Clearly,
I gave consent,
out loud.
but I'm withdrawing it now. You have to
I've
stop
been on
searching.
both sides of this
Sir,
encounter.
I just need a moment here.
I know what
No,
officers are
consent is
trained to
withdrawn
do and
immediately.
where the
All right,
lines
sir.
are drawn. That's why I'm here. Your safety and your freedom depend on what you know before the blue lights flash. My experience is based on leading and the involvement with hundreds and hundreds of drug cases. During this period of time that I was investigating these specific types of cases and later assigned as a detective, I only ever had one person deny me consent to search their property. This was an attorney at her house, so share this with someone who needs it. Subscribe to survive the blue encounter because next episode we go even deeper. We're talking about what happens when an officer crosses those lines, illegal stops, suppression hearings, and how knowing your rights turned into real cases where evidence got thrown out entirely.